In September 2007, I received a phone call which would change my life forever. My buddy had died and nothing would be the same again. And death, it seems, always comes unexpectedly. For those left behind, no one ever has a plan, a run sheet on how to handle what's happened, where to start, what to do, how to cope, how to make sure everything ends up fair, and how to keep the family harmony. There's just too many unknowns, and so that's why I created the Rural Succession Solutions, a structured way to create certainty, confidence and security for those left behind. And I designed a way to quickly construct with pride an estate or a succession plan from scratch with zero grief within 90 days without wasting your valuable time or money, and a way to keep your loved ones safe, to bypass emotional paralysis and to ensure your family doesn't squabble or break up over silly things like money. But even back before then, my first experience in losing a client was back in 1979, and it also changed my life. Sure, the planning I'd done would provide the money, but she had no idea where to go, who to talk with, how to look after the money, and most importantly, who to trust. And this beautiful young mum had herself, a baby and some money, but she was lost, and that's why I devoted my life to helping people get this stuff sorted, to make it easy for those left behind. And remember, it's them, not you, trying to make sense of all your stuff after you've gone. Our facilitation process will save your family's life, and this is how we work. Each year we will keep your plans current. We will have stored copies of all your important documents. You will have a relevant and tactical team of people to step in and help your family when the time comes, and you will have left behind all the personal and heartfelt directions for them, all the words and thoughts you'd never want left unsaid, and we'll help you with that bit. Plus, when the worst happens, I will turn up for your family as a guardian angel to ensure they're okay. Just to make sure, to ensure family harmony, to eliminate family squabbles. And yes, I'm Mark Westcott, and I help people create extraordinary legacies, and I want to help you be a hero for your family. I help rural families stay together by eliminating intergenerational communication conflict and confusion. And we do this within 90 days, so you can get protected property and wealth transitions sorted without wasting your time, without it costing a bomb, and everything will be done in the blink of an eye. Earlier this year, I flew out west to see a rural family. It was a 5-hour flight in my little Cessna, and when we sat down around the table, in 15 minutes I knew exactly what needed to happen to create real certainty, confidence and security for every member of the family, and that's my skill. The grandparents didn't even come out of their house while I was there. They don't discuss this stuff, evidently. And the father, who's one of 4 kids, he also owns some of the family property, and he seems unconcerned about what's going to happen when he and mum get divorced soon. The son, one of their 3 children, and his wife, who's now the mother of the great-grandson, well, he spent years on the property since school, and Dad won't give him any certainty or involvement, so he's wondering if he should head to the big smoke. But he loves it here, it's his home. Also, Dad and Granddad don't take advice from anyone but their accountant, and he doesn't want to rock the boat by bringing this stuff up. So I sat around the table with Mum, Dad, the son and the daughter-in-law, and in 15 minutes I'd sorted how the farm would pass down to the son and the subsequent generations, and that all the other siblings would still be taken care of. Creating the plan as an outsider is what I do, and even though I could fix all of the many issues in a flash for them, Dad just seemed too busy with sheep work and didn't want to face the issues. Luckily, the son forced the issue, and we're now well on the way to getting it all sorted. After that, I travelled a long way to chat with some sheep farmers. First to chat with Mum and Dad to understand their intentions, and then off to speak with each of the kids. There's 2 boys and 1 girl, and sometimes there's attitude between siblings for no good, no logical reason, just because of something which happened maybe when they're all back in nappies, who knows. But regardless, conflict between siblings is just as toxic as conflict between the generations. What has been proved again is you can't solve these issues within the family. It really does take an independent facilitator from outside the family to break through family conflict. And I find that when speaking individually with family members, they turn up with manners, logic, and they turn up with honesty. So if you're struggling with conflict between siblings or the generations, well, that's what I do. I help sort them out. I create family consensus and harmony. It's just what I do. And in this case, I was able to break through the family conflict, and well, we're now almost finished putting all the plans together with the sign-off from the kids. That's how I help people. So let's discuss the scorecard. How to avoid an absolute squabble over the farm after you've gone. We all know families who have fallen apart after a parent dies. The children squabble, they fight over money, they contest the will, and they never talk with each other again. And deep down we know we've got a responsibility to prioritise getting this sorted for those we love and care about. These questions will show you a way to check bad stuff doesn't happen to your family. And I help people get this stuff sorted to save the family. That's my lifetime goal. In fact, my big lifetime goal is to save the lives of 1 million families. But for now, it's about you. And as I said before, I want to help you be a hero for your family. I want to make sure your kids still get together at Christmas as friends and they don't have a Barney or contest wills or such. So let's go through these questions on the scorecard, and I hope you've got that in front of you. And let's look at the 10 fundamental questions to see if you've got this covered or not. I was once taught all progress starts by telling the truth, so until we're honest with ourselves and with these questions, we can't make any progress. Procrastination is one thing, but denial and delusion, well, I can't help there. So here we go. Let's go through the scorecard to see where you stand to help you draw a line in the sand. And if you have questions as I go through these, please write them down for question time at the end, or write them in the comments at the side and we'll get back to you. Let's look at area 1, protecting your wealth. Question 1, you know all the questions relevant to your family which relate to taxation and legal aspects of creating a fair estate plan. Look, what this really covers is the issue of the unknown unknowns. For most people, unless this area is your specialty, there will always be many things we don't even know we don't know about. So unless you're well versed at tax law and the legal issues involved in estate planning, it's hard to tick yes here. There's just so many layers and it's near impossible to know it all. And that's why we always rely on specialists in all areas. And it's a good starting point for you as well, I think. So a good chance that this is a no. Question 2. So here we look at, you have established wills which include asset protection as testamentary trust provision to ensure wealth is not forfeited from children's failed marriages, bankruptcy or premature death. Testamentary trusts may often be discussed, but they're a rare find in wills. Many solicitors take the easy way out and don't include them, or clients want the least cost option with the same results. So if you're not sure if you have one, it's a pretty safe bet you don't. And also the courts are changing their attitude depending on how the trusts are structured. So even if you have one, there's a good chance it needs updating. This one inclusion in your wills could be the difference in hundreds, if not millions of dollars worth of estate disappearing to ex-sons or daughters-in-law. And so if you're not sure, it's definitely a no. Question 3. You know exactly how to start your estate and succession planning process and who you need to involve to ensure your best result. Well, let me say, many well-meaning accountants will tell you they'll get all this sorted for you, even ones who are your best mates or your friend from university. They'll tell you you don't need to talk with anyone else, and I'm going to be brave here and suggest that that means there's a 99.5% chance in 12 months' time nothing will have been done. I've been around for a while. Firstly, accountants can't give legal advice, and secondly, what they're really doing is just keeping a fence around you, as they don't want you taking advice from anyone else. And if those two things aren't true, you still won't have a will in 12 months' time regardless. As well, over 97% of lawyers are just GPs when it comes to estate planning advice, meaning only about 3% are actual specialists. And if you have an estate of over 5 million, only see the 3% of specialty lawyers. So unless you know how to find one of those rare beasts, you better put down a no. This is area 2, open family communications. So let's look at question 4. You have ensured open and regular communication with your spouse and children, and you have regularly discussed the estate and succession planning topic. Look, in many cases, this is about the same probability as finding a unicorn. And having said that, in some families this has happened. The thing to watch out here for is that if Dad's been the one running the meetings, there's a good chance children may be scared to say what they're really thinking. So there could be a lot of head nodding, but maybe not everyone's on board. And if you've had an outside person come in and hold the meetings privately and individually with each of the parties and then together as a group, then tick yes. And pretty much otherwise it's a no. Question 5, you know exactly how to create fairness between your children, and this has been communicated with each of them. Many people try their best to attain equality between family members. However, this is not always fair. Fair doesn't necessarily mean equal. One child may have invested time, effort and capability regarding building the family business or asset, and another may have already taken an early inheritance by asking for a leg up in other areas such as a business start or a home deposit. And in all situations, it's important to have a distribution strategy with children, but also to have the conversation to ensure they understand that when the time comes. Question 6, you know exactly what your children's plans are for the future and you're not experiencing any communication issues with them or their spouses. Look, as time goes on and children are married or form strong relationships, it can be imperative to have open communications with them, especially in regards to their interest in the family business or such. A lack of communication on your part can lead to confusion, other alternative plans by them due to not knowing your intentions specifically. Area 3, family harmony, and this is question 7. You have had facilitated conversations with including your children, spouse, to ensure there's a thorough understanding of your plans. Look, silence can lead to children leaving the farm and heading elsewhere to make a future, or it can lead to resentment and conflict because they feel they are working towards something they have no certainty of achieving. Excuse me. Maybe you have plans, yet you haven't communicated them properly, and in either case, unless you've been really specific and have had sufficient conversations, no is the answer here. Question 8, you have attained consensus between all parties to ensure the risk of contested wills is negated. As mentioned before, many of the communication and potential conflict issues cannot be solved from within the family. If you have had conversations regarding your plans and have asked for consensus yourself, you may find the silence or the lack of discussion from your kids stems from the respective family order. Children may not feel it is their place to argue with mum or dad. This is where the role of the external facilitator comes in. We can have discussions with and attain the truth from children. This is imperative if you really want to ensure wills and plans are not contested. If you have not hired an outsider, pretty much you should answer no. Question 9. You have in place a fully documented and funded plan which creates absolute lifetime certainty for your spouses, well as financial security where required. You may be cruising along feeling everything's okay and tied together with a delusion of invincibility and a tendency to defer action in this area, and that's a fatal combination if you want to guarantee certainty and financial security for your spouse and for your family. If your plans are not out of your head and written down and validated by your accountant or whoever, then it is a no here. You're closest to relying on your care and attention to this area, not just I think it will be okay. Finally, question 10. You have put in place the necessary protection and documented processes to guarantee your dreams and wishes are followed for the benefit of your family. Following on from the last question, this is more on the human level. Have you nominated your funeral intentions? Is it written down? Buried or cremated? Where? Which church or not? Where to spread your ashes or lay to rest? What words would you never want left unsaid to those you love? Do they need instructions to get by after you're gone with the business and so on? What are your final wishes? What will give them strength? And frankly, if you haven't documented all those answers, then it's a no again. In summary, I'm not sure if in my lifetime I've ever met anyone who, before working with us, could answer yes to any more or 2 or maximum 3 of those questions. Well, not if they were telling the truth anyway. So don't feel bad about your score, it's actually normal. But now you have the opportunity to do something about your preparedness for the inevitable. Now is not the time for further procrastination. And by the way, if you have written a question in the chat box across the right-hand side, we'll try to get to it today, and otherwise we'll send you an email, and I hope that's okay. Next in this webinar, you'll be hearing from a specialist estate and succession planning lawyer, Leanne Mathewson. I'll introduce you to her in a couple of minutes, but I will say now, she's not a GP lawyer. She is a specialist. And I like to use the analogy, if you had a brain tumour, you wouldn't go to a GP, you'd get specialist advice. And same with your estate. You have significant wealth and it needs significant advice. So you may ask, what is my role? Well, I'm the facilitator. I bring the parties together when they are needed. Your existing professional advisors and so on, I'll bring them all together and focus on all the human elements as well. I have a process to get this sorted and followed up to make sure it gets done. In a bit more detail, I guess, what am I primarily focused on here? Well, simply put, my focus is when something happens to you, I've got three priorities. Firstly, your wife and mother of your children is okay, both financially and regarding her future needs. Secondly, your hard-earned family prosperity is protected from children's failed marriages, sons and daughters-in-law, bankruptcy, and anything else we can protect it against. And thirdly, your children will still get together at Christmas as mates and not contest wills, fight or squabble over silly things like money. And that's my promise. And just so you know you're in the right place, this strategy reflects the exact steps we use with our 300 plus clients. Also, many of the country's most successful rural families use these strategies. And in short, this is the stuff which works. Over the years, we've been involved in implementing succession plans for rural business owners and others, which covers now well over $2.5 billion. That's $1 billion worth of farms, properties and estates. And many people say we know our stuff and we do a good job. Plus, I grew up on the land, so I understand the issues and have been through them myself. So I speak your language. So what are the three most common problems that rural families face? Well, the first one is communication. It's the biggest issue, and it's the lack of it between the generations. Conflict, mostly due to bad communication, and lack of direction for the young ones. And thirdly, not knowing where to start, what to do, or who to talk with. And that's where I come in. The key step here in our process is around creating family harmony, direction and confidence around the future for your family, and breaking down the communication barriers and eliminating any conflict. Opening up the conversations and having the discussion as an outsider with your family. I find you can't solve these issues from within your family. You need someone from outside to see what can't be seen from within. And our conversation with the next generation around gratitude has proved game-changing. Mostly we help you uncover the unknown unknowns. And putting this into context, it's just one of the steps in our 9-step process, and that's to establish a harmonious rural succession solution. Our total process looks like this. We start with a chat and work our way through establishing the burning issues, the due diligence, family harmony, a fair distribution, protected wealth, and so on. A thorough process to ensure your peace of mind. And if looking further at this is of interest to you, the next stage is to go ahead and book that free strategy call or conversation or chat with us to help you get clear on how this applies to your specific situation and to find out how we can help you to quickly get things sorted. And this call won't cost you a penny and there's absolutely no obligation. Why am I offering free strategy calls or meetings? And that's simple. Because a high percentage of rural people we speak with end up working with us to help them achieve results. But for others, we're not a good fit, and that's okay too. I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone, any questions you may have, and there's no pressure. However, please take advantage of the free call. At least either way, you will have peace of mind you've started the process. So I help people create extraordinary legacies, and as I said before, I want to help you be a hero for your family. Whatever you do regarding taking actions on my suggestions, it won't change my life, but it might make a huge difference for your family. So let me help you with your family communication and get the conversation started. Thank you for listening to my presentation today. Now let me hand over to Leanne Mathewson of Murdoch Lawyers in Toowoomba. Leanne is a lawyer who you should talk to if you don't like dealing with lawyers. Her clients tell me that she's easy to work with and good at simplifying things, which sometimes can seem complex at first. And having grown up on a dairy farm, she's passionate about giving farmers, graziers, rural people and their families relevant information so they're empowered to make informed decisions. So I welcome Leanne Mathewson.